Let's go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone had a good weekend, and can't believe we're in July already. A couple things. First of all, for those of you who haven't seen, there's some electric buses out front, and after the commission meeting, I invite everyone to go take a look at those. This is really a tribute to my colleague, Vice Chair Scott, who helped and was instrumental in getting this project going. And if you think about the role, obviously, of transportation emissions being the largest source of pollution, but particularly with how we get our kids to school. This is really a health issue for children. So it's really exciting to finally be at this point. So thank you and congrats to you and all the rest of the folks who are involved in getting here. And I see the folks in blue there representing Lions. So congratulations to all of you on your good work. And along those lines, let me also share with you a new video just released in cooperation with Veloce and former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to raise awareness about electric vehicles. I'll just say, during the energy crisis, we had the Flex Your Power campaign to really get the message out there about conserving energy. During the drought, we had the Save Our Water campaign. Now transportation emissions are the largest source of pollution in the state, and we're really trying to focus on that. And again, Vice Chair Scott, along with Mary Nichols, was instrumental in starting this organization, Veloce, about 2 years ago. I've been involved, and I have to say, it's a good lesson, I think, about sometimes these things take longer than you'd like, but you get the seed planted, and I think some good things can come. So this is just been launched, and it's going up, actually in concert with it now, 38 billboards are going up in Sacramento, San Francisco, LA, and Bakersfield. But let's kick off the meeting with this video. Go ahead.
Attention customers, I want you to listen very carefully. On behalf of Big Oil, I want to thank you all for choosing muscle cars that use gasoline. Long live the American muscles.
Recently, Arnold Schwarzenegger teamed up with Veloce to promote the benefits of electric cars. To show how they save time, money, and the environment, he went undercover as a used car salesman.
Hi, how are you? Howard Kleiner.
And tried to sell people gas cars instead.
Hello. Looking for a car?
Yeah.
Hey. Howard Kleiner.
Oh, Howard
Good to
Kleiner.
see you, yeah. What are you looking for?
We're looking for, electric. Fuel efficient, quiet.
I have exactly what you're looking for.
What do you think, huh?
How about this, huh? Yeah, actually I'm looking for some kind of electric hybrid mix.
Don't bullshit me.
Okay.
I'm just tired of spending money at the pump.
The pump?
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. You go to the gas station and you pump. Let me tell you something. The pump sometimes is more satisfying than sex.
I'd like to use something that can get me into the carpool lane, actually.
Oh, you mean a sticker? This is your lucky day. Anyone that buys a car today gets a free bumper sticker. I'll be back. Here, carpool lanes are for sissies. I support the oil company monopoly. You can choose any of those.
Can a battery-powered car do this?
I think this will piss off my neighbor.
You them right. It will impress your neighbors. This is testosterone. Yes.
My friend got an electric car and he got a tax credit.
You want a tax credit or do you want to have street credit? You know that the planet is too crowded right now, right? Gasoline cars create pollution and it curbs population. It brings it down. That is the idea.
That's not the way to go about that. So quiet in here. I love it.
But that's the problem, you see? Because it's so quiet that you hear literally everything that your family says. Think about that for a second.
You don't like the car, huh?
I do like the car.
I love the smell of exhaust. Smell this.
That's what we didn't want.
No.
You know what, actually, can I just get a supervisor in here?
Could I please talk to his supervisor?
Can we get a
Can we speak
supervisor
to the
in here?
manager?
All right, let me get the manager, all right?
Okay.
All right.
This is
I'm getting
crazy.
hungry and grouchy.
Yeah, me too.
Hello, I'm Harry, the sales manager. You ask for me?
It's the same guy.
How can I help you?
Electric cars save money, time, and environment without sacrificing any of the fun and excitement of driving. And with over 40 available makes and models, you've never had more reasons to go electric. Go to electricforall.org and join us. Do it now. Come with me if you want a lift. If it burns gas, we got it.
To see more videos, learn about electric cars, and find the one that's right for you, visit electricforall.org.
All right, thank you. So before we move on to the agenda, I just wanted to give a chance for our summer fellows to introduce themselves. Are they back here? Yeah, could we have all the summer fellows just come up and just briefly say your name and which commissioner you're working for and a little bit about yourself. We really are excited to have you all here. Yeah, go ahead to the mic, yeah.
Hi, I'm Reem Rayev. I'm a graduate student at UC Berkeley, and I'm working on my MPP and Master's in Energy and Resources. And I'm interning with Commissioner McAllister.
Fantastic. Welcome.
I'm Kiki Velez. I'm an undergrad studying Energy Resources Engineering at Stanford, and I'm working in Chair Hochschild's office this summer.
Hi, I'm Matt Michioli. I'm working with Commissioner Douglas, and I'm also at Stanford, and I'm a master's student studying environmental engineering.
Hi, I'm Mariam Asghari, and I'm an intern at Vice Chair Scott's office, and I'm a PhD student at University of California, Irvine in mechanical engineering, and I work on fuel cell technologies.
Hi, I'm Claire Sugihara. I'm an intern in Vice Chair Scott's office, and I am a master's student at UC Davis in energy systems.
Terrific. Let's give a round of applause to our summer fellows. Yeah, go ahead.
So Natalie Quitham didn't make it down here, but she is an undergrad at UC Berkeley and has been in my office this summer as well. And Friday's her last day, so I want to just thank her for all her great work. She's got an amazing amount done in the month or so she's been here, so great.
All right, with that, let's move on to the agenda. I'd like to see if we can get a motion for everything on the consent calendar with the exception of item J.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then Commissioner McAllister is going to recuse for item J.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse on item J. I actually am chair of the board of NASIO at the moment, so obviously conflicted out of this vote, so I'm going to step out.
Is there a motion for item J?
Move item J, 1J. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 2, our China trip. Is Fan here? And Alana Sanchez, yeah, come on up. So I wanted to just put this item on the agenda. Really, first wanted to pay tribute again to former Chair Bob Weisenmiller, who made it a point actually to go to China every single year and really did some important path-breaking relationship building there. And I was fortunate, go ahead and take a seat, Fan, if you like. I was fortunate to be able to go to China last month with Fan from Cali, PA, and Lauren Sanchez from ARB. We did 5 cities in 10 days, so Chengdu, Shenzhen, Shanghai, Nanjing, Beijing, looking at EV infrastructure, looking at renewables, clean air policy. It was an extraordinary trip. Fan worked us to the bone, dawn to dusk. But I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Fan, for all the work you have done and will continue to do. I will say this relationship between California and China, from a climate change perspective, I think is the most important in the world. And there's enormous enormous amount that we can do together. It's just, seeing BYD come here and start a factory. Now Tesla, we visited the Tesla factory in China. All of the collaboration on clean air and climate policy, really glad. So I wanted to give Fan an opportunity to share her perspective and then open it up for some commissioner discussion. Go ahead, Fan.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thank Chair Hochschild to having me here this morning. I would like to take this opportunity to debrief the commissioners and everyone here about our recent trip to China. So we were in China for about 9 days and visited 5 cities. This is actually the first state official delegation since Governor Newsom took office. So politically, the Chinese counterparts that we've met with, they took this very seriously. And it was, I personally feel very proud of this delegation that by Chair Hochschild, and we have achieved so many things in China. But briefly, let me just, as Chair has mentioned already, I might just repeat some of those things that we did in China, and also share some of my opinion of the next steps and how I see the opportunities continuing our relationship and collaboration with China. So in the 9 days, we first got to Chengdu, where Chair Hochschild spoke as the keynote at the Sichuan Energy Network Summit. So at the summit, it was actually a very good event that co-organized by CalSAF, California Clean Energy Fund, and the Sichuan provincial government. The event was attended by more than 800 people. Chair Hochschild was there, delivered keynote, spoke about California and Sichuan collaboration on clean energy, especially the grid modernization and integration of clean energy into their grid. Of course, we then visited NIO, which some of the people commented NIO as the Chinese version of Tesla. We visit one of the charging station and battery swapping station in Chengdu provided by NIO. And then our next stop was in Shenzhen. The city of Shenzhen is in, for those who you have not been to China, it's a coastal city in southern part of China, part of Guangdong province, very close to Hong Kong. So in Shenzhen, we met with the former mayor and the Shenzhen municipal government, where we were able to learn that Shenzhen tremendously, they have met their 100% EV buses goal in Texas last year. And they're up to, for Didi, which is the Chinese version of Uber, they're regulating for all the new cars under the Didi program has to be EVs, which is a tremendous effort in China. And so we were able to learn that update in Shenzhen. We also, as the chair mentioned, we visited the headquarters of BYD there. We had a meeting with Chairman Wang of BYD and shared our portfolio on clean energy and what BYD as a headquartered in China company, but also has their subsidiary in California, could help with some solutions to electrifying our ports and buses and vehicles. And then after Shenzhen, we went to Shanghai. We met with the municipal leadership of Shanghai, and the highlight of Shanghai, I really want to mention, I think Lawrence Sanchez, my colleague, is not here today, but Shanghai port was very impressive. They shared their story with us that they are requiring 100% onshore power by 2022, which is the first one that we learned in China. And even when we talked with our colleagues at US EPA, they were very impressive by how Shanghai could pull this off. So the highlight in Shanghai was really the port story, and also we visited Tesla factory in Shanghai. Very impressive speed. I think it's really China's speed, not something we would imagine imagine here, the factory of Tesla, according to them, will be soon start producing cars in China, which is very exciting. We also had a meeting with the municipal government in Shanghai where they shared very interesting their vision of switching to high quality development instead of high speed development in China, which is quite interesting to hear from their perspective and how Shanghai has been addressing their environmental problems alongside their economic development. Very recently, Shanghai has adopted pretty strict recycling policy, which made the first in China as well. After Shanghai, we went to the city of Nanjing, is in province of Jiangsu. Jiangsu is one of California's sister province. And because we were there on a Sunday, we didn't do much business meeting. We had one meeting with the Jiangsu Provincial Environmental Protection Bureau, and we talked about. So we were invited to attend their Clean Energy Summit November this year in Nanjing, which we are hoping to bring some California companies and partners to. And after Nanjing, our last stop was in Beijing. We spent 2 days there. Most of the meetings in Beijing were with the national governmental agencies in China, quote unquote, our DOE, which is their science and Ministry of Science and Technology, our US EPA, quote unquote, to their Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment. California does have very long-standing collaboration with the Chinese, both on national level and subnational level. So it was good that we were there to maintain this exchange at very high level with our Chinese counterparts. But also we were able to learn some new policies will be adopted in China on their vehicle emissions, on their zero-emission vehicle initiative, and other standards that they're considering adopting, similar to what California already established. So most of the policy conversations in Beijing were very high level. We did have meetings with other counterparts, including Tsinghua University and some others in Beijing, to continue the conversation. I personally would summarize the stop in Beijing as more symbolic and political significant. It's very important to ensure some policy consistency, and California as a state will continue some of our high-level engagement with China on a policy level, but also we're mindful of the reason escalated trade and tariff between the U.S. and China on a national level. So that's kind of an overview of what we did in China. I would also like to take this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts on what California has done with China, what has worked, and in the future, as we see the opportunities to continue such engagement, and how do we effectively use the resources and bring back opportunities to California, especially the business community and the public. So I think the most important thing, and really honestly, I think the only thing will make this relationship continue and sustainable is we make sure that's a two-way relationship rather than one-way exchange, and we have and can see some concrete outcomes from what we were doing in China and collaborating with the Chinese partners. And to really ensure that outcomes, I think institutionalizing our effort with China is very critical. So as one of my suggestions to David and also to other commissioners are really we should engage our partners within the government, but also outside the government, ensure the business and civil society are informed of this process, like we are doing today, and we bring the priorities that they care most about, and what we were able to do in the past to kind of broach that with our Chinese partners. And then speaking about the concrete outcomes and priorities, I have several recommendations for the China work at the Energy Commission. Especially, I see the areas that bear most outcomes with China and can bring back opportunities to California. The first is the gap in China that we saw in terms of renewable energy development and adoption. The grid in China is still very heavily dependent on coal. It was around 80%, and now it's a little bit better, around 70%, varies in provinces. So there is really a very high need to modernize their grid and to integrate more renewable resources into their grid operation. So I do see that as a pretty good direction and potential for California to continue build what we have been doing in terms of policy exchange, but also I think we should think beyond just policy, should include more business partners and other partners into the conversation and see how we could help advance some of the opportunities to our companies and operators here. And second area that I would like to mention is the EV infrastructure. As Shenzhen were able to do in the past, which is rapidly electrifying their transportation sector. They started with public transportation. Thereafter, private cars right now, but we do see that transition in Shenzhen at least was quite successful. So in terms of EV infrastructure and EV cars adoptions, there would be some lessons that California as a state could learn from China as well. So I do encourage that we seek opportunities to have more exchange with places in China like Shenzhen and Shanghai, that they are the pioneering cities in China adopting EV policies, and work with them more in depth and learn some experience and policies from them as well. The third area that I would like to mention is about energy efficiency. I know in Energy Commission we were able to in the past couple years, we had an MOU with the China Ministry of Housing, where we were able to share our Title 24 standard with them. But there is still a gap in terms of the adopting a standard in China and implementing that in their actual projects. So in the future, I think it will be very important to seek some business opportunities, and also having the Chinese really understand not just from what our policies are, but how and why we implement such building standard in California and how we were able to achieve that in California, and having that part of experience translated successfully into China and urge China to implement that in their practices, because building sector singly does take up about 40% of their greenhouse gas emissions. So that's kind of something very important from an emission reduction perspective too. Lastly, in near term, I think we do have some instant follow-ups with China that includes some provincial delegations will be visiting California. I do encourage we take those as opportunities to deepen our relationship with them, but also, as I mentioned a couple of times already, to engage from a broader scope and also try to learn something from the Chinese partners. So with that, I think that concludes my report out today for our China trip. Thank you again.
Great. Thanks again, Fan. And I'll just say, the learning goes both ways. I mean, going to a city like Shenzhen, 20 million people, you can't find a bus that's not electric. You can't find a taxi that's not electric. You go to Shanghai, you can't find a motorcycle that's not electric. And riding between these cities on high-speed rail, it's inspiring. And I think they're very interested in what we're doing on R&D and on efficiency codes and renewables, and I really feel it goes both ways. So I will just express a hope for my colleagues here that we as a group make a commitment that one of us goes to China every year. If we can do more, that's even better. And I know Commissioner Monahan, you were interested to go, and Commissioner McAllister. I'm really hoping Vice Chair Scott, Commissioner Douglas, as the opportunity comes up. So Fan is going to be leaving state service this month, starting. It's a good thing. She's actually going to be starting an institute. It's already underway at UC Berkeley, where they've raised foundation funding just to foster this sort of California-China climate dialogue, and is really going to be able to focus even more deeply on it. And we intend to continue to partner closely with you, and that also goes for delegations coming here. So I'll be hosting a dinner for the chairman of BYD, who's coming in September, and I just want to encourage everyone to work with FAN. But any other comments or ideas or thoughts on China?
Yeah, I've talked with FAN about this. I think that we do have this great opportunity on clean transportation with China's leadership and our leadership. Vice Chair Scott was in China this year for EV100, and this collaboration that we have fostered on the zero emission vehicle policy that started here in California and then migrated to China with help from our sister agencies and UC Davis. I think that we can deepen that, and I agree with the EV infrastructure. I think on hydrogen there's a big opportunity. China's right now the biggest investor by far in hydrogen, and they're tepidly invested, which gives you a sense of scale. They have such scale. So figuring out how we can partner to ensure that this transition to clean transportation is a global one, and using their market scale to help drive down prices for us is just a great relationship, I think, on both sides.
Yeah, I would just add, it was a fantastic opportunity to get to participate in the EV100, to see all the different types of vehicles. I got to see and ride in the Neo, which was really awesome, and it is great to have, I think, that kind of global competition out there, which just helps all of us get into these zero emission vehicles that much faster. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Shenzhen, which I really wanted to see, not just the amazing spectacle of 16,000, I think it is, buses and some 40,000 trucks that are all electric, but to really understand how they're charging them up, right? That is charging at scale, and we're in right now. Even though California is doing a great job and we're leading and we're doing what we can, I feel like we're kind of in the onesie twosies or maybe 10s and 12s versus hundreds or thousands, which is where we're going to need to be if we're going to make this transition of 90% of these vehicles by 2040. I mean, it's 20 years from now. So I'd love to see what the infrastructure looks like and how they're managing that. So it's great. It's very exciting.
So I was just going to add on another topic that China is also one of the leaders in floating offshore wind technology as you see that technology begin to be deployed across Asia. So there are a number of Pacific Rim economies, Japan, South Korea, and others that have set up targets and done some demonstration work. But I think we're going to see China expanding in a big way in this area too, and there's a lot we have to learn from that as well.
I guess just reiterating some of the building stuff. I mean, they have a system that allows them to get scale much more quickly than us, right? They don't have to depend on the market fully, but then they support the market so that it can get there at reasonable cost. And so, Title 24, I think, is a huge lever we can use to get over there and help influence decision making. Which is not to say we want to just transfer Title 24 over there, but building this grid integration challenge as they wean themselves off coal and move to renewables. The buildings can play a fundamental role in being a resource and helping accommodate renewables. And we're facing a very similar challenge as we, get ever deeper in the renewables penetration. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for technology development, getting costs down, and just really holding hands on getting global scale, real scale, as they seek to build, they're building new cities to an advanced energy code, and we can really, I think they're lot of synergies there, so that's great. And my son is actually, he's 16. He's headed over there next week for a robotics competition. He'll be in Shanghai for 2 weeks, so I'm going to have him check out the ports, I guess. Maybe he can take some photos for me. I don't know. But anyway, beautiful job. Really looking forward to scaling up that collaboration.
The last thing I'd say, so I briefed the Lieutenant Governor on our trip. Governor Newsom has asked her to be lead on international relations. She is really excited to continue to engage with China, and herself was there for the One Belt, One Road meeting in May. So thank you, Fan, for that.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 3, discussion on SB 100, Courtney and Ken.
All right. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Ken Redder, Chief of Staff to David Hochschild, and I'll be joined later on this item by Courtney Smith, our Chief Deputy Director, to provide you an update on SB 100, also known as the 100% Clean Energy Act. SB 100 was signed into law on September 10th of last year and sets California on the path to carbon-free electricity grid by the end of 2045. Achieving this target will not only decarbonize the electric sector, but it will also create the clean energy backbone that's necessary to decarbonize other sectors as well. The imperative of achieving a clean energy grid is not only recognized in California, and we have a graphic up here, but also many other states have that goal as well. The states of Hawaii, as you can see on the map, the dark green include the states of Hawaii, Washington, Nevada, and New Mexico, along with the federal territories of Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. And all of those territories and states also have a 100% clean energy goal. In addition, 13 other states are considering or evaluating 100% clean energy for their jurisdictions. And that's what the light blue and shaded green and yellow represent, are states that are either have that goal in their legislature, their governor has announced that goal, or some form of consideration for a clean energy, 100% clean energy. Therefore, California leadership will play a key role as this policy is considered in other states, nationally and internationally. SB 100 puts California on a path towards 100% clean energy with 2 key components. The first is an expansion and acceleration of the renewable portfolio standard. The 50% renewable energy compliance date is accelerated from 2030 to 2026, and a new goal of 60% renewable energy is added for the year 2030. Secondly, the bill requires the California Public Utilities Commission, Energy Commission, and Air Resources Board publish a joint report by January 1, 2021 that examines the possible approaches to a 100% clean energy target. This report must be updated at least every 4 years thereafter. The report by statute must evaluate the positive or negative impacts of various pathways to 100% clean energy and the impacts they may have on key electric system characteristics such as affordability, reliability, and safety. The report will describe the current state of technology and transmission and the benefits and barriers to transitioning to a clean grid. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Courtney, to provide an update about the joint agency plans to create this important report.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. As Ken mentioned, the report is broad in scope and quite a large undertaking. In short, the report and the process that we use to develop the report will really help serve California as the mechanism through which we chart the path toward a 100% clean energy future. In terms of roles, the California Energy Commission is the lead agency on the report, and Energy Commission staff are working closely with staff at the CPUC as well as the Air Resources Board on developing the report's schedule, scope, and process. In terms of progress made to date, a public kickoff meeting has been tentatively scheduled for September 5th. In addition to planning for this workshop, staff are in the process of developing a work plan as well as a workshop schedule to guide the next year and a half. As staff work to finalize the game plan for the next year and a half, several important issues are being considered, including how we can meaningfully empower diverse communities to contribute to and influence the conversation, as well as how we can appropriately set a foundation with this report in order to grow the quantitative analysis that will likely be needed as part of this planning effort long term. In order to help keep you all updated on SB1 progress, this informational item will now become a standing item for future business meetings. This will also provide an opportunity, an ongoing opportunity for commissioners to discuss among yourselves as well as with the public some of the many issues and considerations that will have to be thought through as we move through this effort. So at this point, I'd like to invite commissioners to engage in discussion, and of course, I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Courtney. And let me just say, I mean, this goal now is really our lodestar for climate policy, and it touches everybody. We need R&D, to succeed in order to get there. We need, planning and siting and offshore wind and efficiency and demand response and all the robust analysis and clean transportation, all the rest of it. And so that is one of the goals. We're going to just try to have this as a standing item as we did for SB 350, so we can all be engaged in this. I really want to thank Courtney in particular and the rest of the team, SIVA, and all the staff at CC who've been working. That kickoff meeting we had was very, very collaborative with the other agencies, which is what we need. And this is not a time for silos. This is really a time for a healthy exchange. And we have that culture set up with the other agencies. I'm really happy to see that. But I just wanted to open it up for, I guess the other thing I'd ask, so Commissioner McAllister is going to be BK with me on the analysis part of this, which is really, really important because as we discussed, many other states are looking at what we're doing. We're by far the largest state in terms of our economy that's implemented this policy. So how it goes here, this is very similar to what happened with other landmark policies, including RPS and net metering and so on. It really affects what happens in the rest of the country. But maybe you could start, Commissioner McAllister.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks, Chair Hochschild. And thank you, Courtney, for all your leadership, and Ken for sure as well. The legislation calls out the other two agencies, ARB and PUC. I think we also, given the sort of renewables integration challenge at all scales, to get there to 100%, obviously the ISO is also a key player in this and transmission planning. They do dispatch, so really a lot of the actual implementation, de facto is kind of up to them. So, and the analysis really kind of has to, scratch their itches as well. So I think the analytical piece of this, so there's certainly a leadership piece, absolutely, and I totally agree with everything that you and the chair have said on this, that people are looking at us, and our purpose has to be to kind of demystify a little bit and show the world this can be done. The sky's not going to fall. It's doing it. It's how we do it. It's not whether we do it. And the flip side of that sort of branding is that we have to show how we're going to do it, that it's incrementally, stepwise possible to do it, and that the reliability issue is job one alongside it. And so, I think SIVA and the Energy Assessment Division and the forecasting team and all of our analytical folks on that side are really key to sort of, just showing that this is being done in a highly professional and analytically competent way. And by the way, it helps us develop the tools that we need to continue forward with granular and temporal understanding of the evolution of the grid. So I think there's just a whole lots of upside to this, and our leadership position sort of puts a little bit of pressure on us to sort of get it done, sooner rather than later, and that's a good thing. So I think we're completely up to the task, and then once we sort of lay out the plan, then implementation, as David said, it involves everyone, right? So transportation is a huge resource, and R&D is going to solve some of these issues, and renewables obviously is core to it, and that this is sort of a RPS on steroids in a way, right? So I really think it's a great opportunity to collaborate across offices, and this standing item will help us do that.
Any other comments?
No, not anything in detail. Just I am really glad that we've added this to our agenda. Just like SB 350, it's a really welcome opportunity to get to talk with you all and hear from you all about what you're thinking. And of course, this is so cross-cutting, so it's nice to get these updates in this way and have this time to be able to talk with one another.
You know, just as I think my comment here, I think this is great. I'm really happy to have this on the agenda and to have a chance to talk about it. I think it's being laid out in a really good way. I think one area that I'm interested in is finding ways to tease out the relationship between what's possible on the ground in terms of land and water and technology and what that implies for different parts of our analysis. And so, you know, we've talked at a high level about, you know, maybe there's a high solar pathway with a lot of storage and you know, what might that look like and where might that go? And, you know, in terms of trade-offs, how does that look compared to a pathway that has offshore wind in it as well, or that brings in more geothermal? And, you know, I'm very much in the mode of, you know, wanting to see these different options that we have in front of us considered and on the table, especially as we move towards these very high goals. I also know that there are big challenges with all of them, and they're challenges that can be overcome with time and concerted effort. But, you know, through our analysis, if we believe that a certain amount of offshore wind or a certain amount of solar or, you know, a certain amount of onshore wind or a certain amount of geothermal is really helpful, you know, we can take the step on the land use and planning side of saying, well, where might that go? And what's the potential and what are the potential obstacles, and can we do it, you know, where is the resource? Is there existing transmission? Do we need to think about transmission? You know, how do we make best use of our system? And we might, by iterating back and forth, come back and say, you know, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Maybe if we do storage here or transmission there, we don't have to do this other thing. And it just kind of understanding the pathways and having that relate into and feed into some of the analysis, I think could be very helpful.
So I too am glad to see this as a standing item. I mean, it's so critically important as we make our investments today to always be thinking about how do we get to a deep decarbonization future. And I think especially as we're thinking about building electrification, transportation electrification, how do we, you know, and we're going to be potentially increasing load at certain times of the day, but how important will vehicle grid integration, buildings grid integration be to being able to achieve our long-term targets? And how much should we be investing today to try to get to that outcome? I mean, I think this process sets us up well for thinking through, you know, making sure that we are making the most strategic investments to get us to the future that we need for the sake of California and the globe.
Well, one thing I'd add, one thing Vice Chair Scott and I are working on is an agenda for a multi-agency on-bank. We're planning for this fall with us, PUC, and the ISO. So we actually can get all 15 commissioners in a room together, and this will be one of the topics we talk through. Anything else, Courtney? Was it? Okay. Well, thank you for that. And let's move on to item 4, the Walsh Data Center.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Steve Kerr. I supervise the CEQA review unit in the Environmental Office of STEP. I'm here in place of Project Manager Leonidas Payne, who is out of the office today. With me is Staff Attorney Jared Babula. We're here to present a proposed order appointing a committee to oversee a small power plant exemption, or SPPE, proceeding for the Walsh Data Center. The SPPE option is only available for thermal power plants between 50 and 100 megawatts, and pursuant to Public Resources Code, Section 25541, the exemption can only be granted if no substantial adverse impact on the environment or energy resources will result from the construction or operation of the proposed facility. The applicant, 651 Walsh Partners, LLC, filed its application on June 28, 2019, seeking an exemption from the Commission's power plant certification process. The Walsh Data Center consists of a building housing data servers, up to 80 megawatts of associated diesel-fired backup generators, and associated equipment and connections proposed for construction in Santa Clara, California. The Walsh Data, excuse me, staff's job will be to conduct a CEQA review of the exemption application and to produce an initial study. In addition to the Walsh Data Center, staff is currently working on the Laurelwood Data Center project, which the commission appointed a committee to on April 10, 2019. And staff anticipates 4 additional SPP applications for data centers in the Santa Clara and San Jose area this year. Thank you. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions at all? All right. Go ahead. Yeah, applicant, go ahead.
Good morning. Scott Galati, representing 651 Walsh Partners. The primary managing partner of that is Digital Realty, a global data center developer. Apologize that Mr. Joe Hubbard, who is the vice president of the Western region, couldn't be here today. He got a travel conflict. I do have our consultant on the phone as well. Thank you very much for considering this item and appointing a committee. It's an important, one thing to understand about data centers, and most importantly, the backup generating facility that supports them, is these data centers in our world today are critical infrastructure. There's not anything you have in your wallet or on your phone or anything you purchase electronically that is not also stored in a data center someplace by some company. So we appreciate that the commission has looked at these as a priority. We have tried to design the Walsh Data Center and its backup generating facility in a way we feel very comfortably that is fully mitigated as we submitted it to you. And we look forward to getting through the process quickly, and thank staff for working on the project right now.
Okay, well, thank you all. We had discussed Commissioner Douglas as presiding member and Commissioner Monahan as associate for this. Are there any public comments on this? If not, do you want to make a motion?
Move approval of that committee.
All in favor? Oh, is there
Aye.
a second? Sorry.
Second.
Second. Vice Chair Scott, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to item 5, Renewable Energy and Agriculture Program.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Jeffrey Dodson, and I'm representing the Renewable Energy Division. And I work in our incentive office, where we administer incentive grant programs promoting renewable energy projects, including the Renewable Energy for Agriculture program, known by the acronym REAP. REAP is a grant program with $10 million in funding from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, and it was originally created by Assembly Bill 109 in 2017. It is part of the California Climate Investments, and it is intended to support the installation and adoption of renewable energy technology in the agricultural sector. We are here today to ask for your support to approve 2 proposed grant agreements resulting from our program's first grant funding opportunity released earlier this year in January of 2019. The 2 proposed grant agreements that we present to you today are a continuation of the 41 grant agreements that were presented and approved at the last business meeting on June 12th. The grant agreements for those approved last month are currently moving into the execution stage and will begin the implementation of each project proposal. The proposed grant agreements presented before you today represent 2 of the remaining 4 proposed awardees that have yet to be approved by the Commission. Once all proposed grant agreements are approved, project development will be underway for all 45 of our proposed awardees, collectively representing all $9.5 million in REAP funding, award funding. There are a couple of key project characteristics specific to these 2 grant agreements that I would like to highlight for you. Costa Magna Farms represents the largest solar PV project in both system capacity size at over 1 megawatt DC and in total project investment at over $1.8 million when you include both the grant and match funding. The proposed agreement for Lemoore Union High School will install a 413 kilowatt system, solar PV system to power an on-site agricultural operation used for educational purposes. This project will provide a direct benefit to residents of a disadvantaged community by integrating the agriculture operation with the education of students that reside in a low-income community. Mark Howard, representing Lemoore Union High School District, is unable to attend today's meeting However, he did provide this supporting comment that we would like to share. And I quote, "Our district is very thankful for this grant opportunity, and we look forward to many more in the future. We have a strong agriculture program at Lemoore High School, and without grant programs like these, it is very difficult for public agencies to install solar systems due to the cost of prevailing wage. The staff at the Energy Commission have been great to work with so far, and we look forward to making this a successful project." End quote. Staff recommends the approval of the 2 grant agreement packages on today's agenda, affording the opportunity to proceed with the grant execution and project implementation consistent with our program solicitation requirements. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I am available for any questions.
Let me just say, first of all, thank you, Jeff, to you and the rest of the team. I'm really pleased with how quickly this program got the money out the door, and you know, also the one feature we added in the design. When I was working on this before Commissioner Douglas took over, we included, if an EV charger is included, the grant size is larger, and I think something like half the projects now include EV chargers, something in that neighborhood. I'm really pleased with that progress. But Commissioner Douglas, did you want to chime in on?
No, just to say that I'm really pleased with the way this program has developed and been implemented. This program was really developed new, and we haven't run it before, and the outreach to farmers has been fantastic under the circumstances. I mean, given that any time you do outreach for a new project to a new community, you learn a lot along the way, and the staff's really stepped up and done a great job on this. So
great.
I'm really pleased with the work. I'll make a motion. When
Let's first just see if there's any public comment on item 5. The person on the run. Okay, you want to make a motion?
Or can I just echo your comments on this? I think I am also really impressed with the outreach that our team has done in this space. I think if you are an energy person, you know quite well what the Energy Commission does, and otherwise, sadly, you probably don't. And so I think reaching out to a set of folks in the agricultural community who are likely not used to dealing with the Energy Commission, our grants, knowing what they are, how to participate, why to participate, and just the level of outreach that we did in this space with a community that we don't normally, or not normally, but don't usually work with, I think is really fantastic. And I think the response that you got back shows there's a ton of need in this space, and that people are excited to jump on it. So I just wanted to kind of add those thoughts. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really good point. There is a lot of demand in this space, and this program was significantly oversubscribed even in our first go-around. And, you know, when we talk about outreach, it's not just to the organizations that represent farmers. They're pretty easy to call. We know who they are. But this program is for farmers. This program is for people who are actually out there farming. And so it's kind of like doing the outreach to the fishing community, which we've done in the offshore wind area. You know, if they're on their boats, you can't call them. You've got to find time when it's not in season. And so we did the same thing here. You know, if you're doing during harvest season, you'd better not have a workshop. It's things like that that you have to learn. And so anyway, I'm very pleased with this program. I'm glad to see this on the agenda, and I move approval of item 5.
I just want to say, if you look at the numbers of how much the grants actually are, and then you look at the size of the systems that it's funding, it's actually quite a bit of leverage. I mean, they're grants, right, but they're not paying for the whole system. They're paying for a little chunk of the system, and so that's actually a good, you know, clearly there's a lot of match funding and there's a lot of project development that's going on that can leverage these funds, but we're not footing the whole bill, so that's a good thing.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McAllister. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. And let me just finally say, I'm on a mini campaign to get better acronyms. REAP, you guys hit a home run with that. So well done.
Thank you so much.
Let's move on to item 6, City of Trinidad.
I'll make this quick. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Nelson Pena, and I am with the Local Assistance and Finance Office of the Energy Efficiency Division. Today, I'm here to request for approval for approximately $49,000 through the Energy Conservation Act loan at 1%, also known as ECA loan, to the City of Trinidad. The City of Trinidad will use this loan to implement a new 14-kilowatt rooftop photovoltaic system installed at its city town hall. Upon completion, the project will reduce about 19 megawatts per hour of grid electricity consumption annually and it's estimated to save $4,400 of utility costs annually. Based on the loan amount, the utility cost savings, the simple payback is approximately 11.3 years. The loan request is in compliance with the terms and conditions of the ECA loan program and is categorically exempt from the CEQA guidelines. We recommend your approval of the loan, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Any public comments on the item? Commissioner McAllister?
Yes, so it's great to see some that part of the state getting participation in ECA. It's really a Trinidad little town that we don't actually see a lot of in our various programs, and so it's really nice to be looking north and helping them get it, albeit a very small PV system, but you know, every bit counts. So
It's a small town.
It's a small town, yeah, exactly. So, but I don't have any further comments. Yeah, so I'll move this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Scott. All in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 7, proposed adoption of low carbon fuel production program.
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Taiyin Zhang from the Fuel and Transportation Division. Today, staff is seeking adoption of the low carbon fuel production program guidelines, as well as a determination that this action is CEQA exempt. The Low Carbon Fuel Production Program was established under the Budget Act 2018 as amended by Senate Bill 856. This program will provide $12.5 million from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund to support a low carbon fuel production project in the transportation sector. This program is being funded as we also call it California Climate Investment, which is administered by the Air Resource Board. The Climate Investment is a statewide initiative that put billions of the carbon trade dollars to work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, strengthen the economy, and provide public health and the environmental, particularly in the disadvantaged community, low-income community, and household. This program will support a new or expanded and renewable ultra-low carbon transportation fuel production using sustainable and underutilized feedstock in California. The program objectives include provide the major benefit as a GHG emission reduction and co-benefit, also the consideration for priority population as defined by SB 535 and AB 1550. For those not familiar with these bills, that's a little bit of background information. As SB 535 requires the California EPA to identify disadvantaged community and require ARB to provide guidance on maximizing the benefits to these communities. AB 5050 set investment minimums for GGRF projects. You will see those minimums in the later slides. So as administrative agency, Energy Commission is responsible for designing the program implementation structure and developing guidelines for potential applicants. On February 21st, 2019, staff released the first draft guideline for low carbon fuel production program. The resource includes Energy Commission existing solicitation under the Clean Transportation Program. Follow with, we have a staff workshop to discuss the draft guideline on March 5th this year. Also, as all the GGRF funding program, we referred CARB's funding guidelines for agencies that administer California climate investment. These guidelines include the program structure, eligibility, solicitation, and scoring. I will provide some details on each section. This program is open to all public and private entities which have business present in California. The proposed project must result in new fuel production capacity. The carbon intensity of ultra-low carbon fuel must be 30 gram CO2 equivalent per megajoule or less. All the eligible low-carbon fuel production plants and existing biorefinery must be in California and reduce greenhouse gas emission by producing ultra-low carbon transportation fuel using an eligible feedstock. The minimum production capacity is 1 million diesel gallons equivalent per year. The maximum total funding of this program is $12.5 million. And a single project could be awarded up to $5 million each, which will be awarded through a competitive grant solicitation. This is what I mentioned earlier, is AB 1550 set all the minimums for the priority population. This program will maximize the benefit to priority population by meeting or exceeding the following allocation: a minimum 25% of funds to projects located within and benefit disadvantaged community, 5% of the fund to the low-income community, and an additional 5% of fund to project benefit AB 1550 low-income community or household within a half-mile of a disadvantaged community. For this solicitation, the Energy Commission may use a two-phase evaluation process. The first phase is a pre-application abstract. All the applicants receiving a passing score on their abstract will be invited to submit their detailed full application. That's the phase 2. All the application must pass in administrative screening first. Once the applicant passing that, they will receive a technical scoring. Technical scoring criteria include the project team qualification, business plans including technology marketing and financial plans, readiness and implementation, project budget and cost effectiveness, project benefit and co-benefit, and the priority population consideration. All the solicitation requirement will be described in the grant solicitation, which will be posted on the Energy Commission's website. Follow that, a pre-application workshop will be conducted. All parties can submit written questions after the workshop. Written response to all questions will be posted on the website too. As I mentioned, we released the first draft on February 21st, 2019, and had a staff workshop on March 5th, 2019. In the workshop and afterwards, staff received comments and questions from state agencies, industrial partners, and academics. Staff reviewed these comments and revised the draft accordingly. So if the guideline adopted today, the program's proposed schedule is as follows. Staff plan to release the solicitation followed by a pre-application workshop in September. Hopefully we will get the phase 1 abstract phase done in October. Then we'll follow the phase 2 evaluation. After that, staff plan to publish a notice of proposed awards in January 2020 with the proposed awards scheduled for the March or April business meeting. The encumbrance deadline for this program is June 30, 2020. For those who are interested, additional resources are available on our website. With that, staff is seeking adoption of the low carbon fuel production program guidelines and a determination that this action is exempt from CEQA. Thanks for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions before I move to public comment? Okay, let's hear from Nina Kapoor from the RNG Coalition. Right up there, yeah. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nina Kapoor with the Coalition for Renewable Natural Gas in Support. The RNG Coalition represents over 180 leading members in each sector of the RNG industry, including utilities, organized labor, fuel providers, and producers of over 90% of all RNG in North America. We support the Low Carbon Fuel Production Program because it will provide opportunities for additional RNG development in the state. RNG is the lowest carbon transportation fuel available today, with carbon intensity scores lower than negative 350, and air quality performance of 99.8% clean. We're excited to be part of the solution for reducing GHG emissions in the transportation sector, and we'd also like to encourage the Commission to consider other opportunities for decarbonization using RNG outside of the transportation sector. We believe that we can replicate the success we've seen in transportation across the building and industrial sectors, and we'd like to work with the Commission to explore incentives to do so. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment on the item? Okay, Commissioner Monahan.
Yeah, I just want to give staff kudos for developing the guidelines really thoughtfully. And I think the process that they used to develop the guidelines was spot on in terms of community engagement. I also wanted to just highlight that I think we recognize broadly that we need to do a better job around paying attention to equity and disadvantaged communities in our investments. And this is a process. Like we don't have all the answers. And, you know, historically, when a plant is located in a disadvantaged community, we check the box. And we're trying to think through how many boxes do we need to check, you know, and to really listen to the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group as we are developing guidelines going forward. And I think staff is very open to this, and, you know, it's just it's a process. And it's one I think we have to go through broadly, constantly, is thinking, are we really paying attention to the communities most vulnerable to the harmful impacts of air pollution, and how can we make sure that our investments are attentive to equity? So I just wanted to highlight that as something we recognize that we are continuing to work on. I also like the fact that we're focusing on ultra-low carbon fuels, the 30 micrograms or per megajoule or less. I think that's the focus that we should be attentive to, and that we're looking at investments that are not just like already cost effective. You know, if there's already a business case for the investment, we don't want to use our precious dollars for those types of investments. We really want to make sure that we are bringing producers into California that wouldn't otherwise be able to do it just with private capital.
Would you like to make a motion to adopt the guidelines?
I move to adopt the guidelines.
Is there a second?
Go ahead. Second.
Second by Vice Chair Scott. All in favor say aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 8, bulk purchase pricing for electric school buses.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Diana Gonzalez with the Fuels and Transportation Division. Staff is requesting approval today for item 8, 2 agreements for bulk purchase pricing for electric buses, school buses, and item 9, 60 school bus replacement agreements. I will begin by presenting background information on the school bus replacement program, Then I will present item 8 for your approval. And lastly, I will present item 9 for your approval. First, background on the school bus replacement program. Senate Bill 110 allocated $75 million to replace old diesel school buses operating in California. Applicants who were eligible for this program included California Public School Districts, county offices of education, and joint power authorities. Priority was given to applicants based on 3 criteria. First, the oldest diesel school buses. Second, schools that have a majority of students eligible for free or reduced price meals. And third, school buses serving in disadvantaged communities. The Energy Commission decided to emphasize electric school buses because of their many benefits. Electric school buses produce 0 tailpipe emissions, resulting in cleaner air for kids to breathe, and improving overall health of the communities through which these buses travel. In addition to providing health benefits, replacing diesel buses with electric school buses will also save schools money on vehicle maintenance and fuel. For the school bus replacement program, we utilized a 2-phased approach. The first phase was to allow school districts, COEs, and JPAs in California to apply for up to 10 diesel school buses to be replaced. The second phase was to select an electric school bus manufacturer or dealer to design, construct, and deliver the school buses. The purpose of this solicitation was to establish a bulk purchase price for the school districts, COEs, and JPAs to utilize. The funding under this program was evenly split into 4 regions in California that include Northern, Central, Los Angeles County, and Southern. The Energy Commission requires the electric school buses meet the following criteria. All buses must meet the following applicable local, state, and federal laws, ordinances, and requirements, including safety and air quality regulations. Buses must be certified by the California Highway Patrol at time of delivery and by the California Air Resources Board through an executive order. Other requirements include specific charging and discharging capabilities, battery and vehicle warranties, and minimum range for each school bus type. The Clean Transportation Program, formerly known as the Alternative and Renewable Fuel and Vehicle Technology Program, is providing $60,000 of funding per awarded school bus for the necessary charging infrastructure to operate the electric school buses. In addition, at the June business meeting, Cerritos Community College District was awarded a $1 million agreement to develop and deliver electric school bus training for school district maintenance technicians and drivers for the school bus replacement program. We would like to share with you a story of one of the school districts that has already begun converting its fleet to electric school buses. It's one example of the demand for electric school buses around the state.
Since 2016, Twin Rivers has replaced 16 dirty diesel school buses with 16 clean air, zero emission electric school buses. After running them for over 2 years, we have found significant reduction in cost of operation, about 80% reduction in maintenance costs. Overall running of electric vehicles is much less expensive than running a diesel vehicle. In replacing these dirty diesel school buses, what we found is that not only are there economic benefits to it, but there's greater benefits to clean air for community in the surrounding area. We will transition within the next 2.5 years to 50% all electric school buses. We will have 0 diesel buses. We're very thankful for folks and entities like the California Energy Commission coming out and supporting this technology and these projects to promote EV technology, to put more buses on the ground for clean air for kids and community.
To help schools move to a clean transportation future, staff is first seeking approval of Item 8, bulk purchase pricing for electric school buses with a $0 agreement to establish the bulk purchase prices school districts, COEs, and GPAs can utilize to procure their electric school buses. This bulk purchase price was used to determine the award amount per bus type for the schools. The proposed awardees are the Alliant Electric Co. and A to Z Bus Sales Incorporated. The Alliant Electric Co. is a DBA for the Alliant Electric Co. USA Incorporated. Lion was selected as the qualified low bid for the Type A without chairlift bus, as well as the Type C and D electric school buses. A to Z was selected as the qualified low bid for the Type A with chairlift electric school bus. Staff has ensured that both awardees have met or exceeded all minimum requirements under this solicitation. Both awardees have also brought a demonstration bus today for a ride and drive. This concludes item 8, request for approval, and item 9 will be presented after the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we go to public comment, just a quick question on the charger. How many miles of charge does that do an hour for the EV bus charger that you referenced?
For which bus specifically?
You just showed us a photo of the charger for the. I'm assuming it's for the buses we saw out front. I'm just curious. Is that a like level 2? How? Don't know. It's okay.
For that specific picture, I would have to look back to see, but we are requiring a specific charging.
Does anyone from line know how? I'm just.
That picture, do you want to comment?
How quickly are the buses recharging? Yeah, thanks.
On the bus that was pictured and also specified for this, when you're looking at a 100-mile range on the standard J1772 charging, it's close to 6 hours.
6 hours to fully recharge. Okay, that's good to know. Great. Thank you. Let's go to public comment. John Landher from AC Bus Sales.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for this program. On behalf of hundreds of school districts across the state of California that we have been providing services to and partnering with for over 35 years here in California, we thank you for this exciting program. We're excited that through this program, school districts will get access to Bluebird, not only Type A's, but Type C's and Type D's to replace their old diesel school buses. Bluebird is a company that's been around for almost 100 years and with a singular focus of transporting children safely to and from school, our nation's most precious asset. They do that day in and day out, making the safest bus possible. And they've also been leading the country in technology developments. In fact, it was just 1990 that A to Z Bus Sales, in cooperation with Bluebird, produced the first CNG buses here in California. Additionally, Bluebird came out with the first electric bus in 1994. So they continue to lead the country, and we're excited about this program because it brings not only zero-emission buses to California, but also near zero with renewable gas. And so we want to thank you for putting trust in us to deliver these products to students of California and communities of California. It's a real win-win for our communities, but most importantly for our children that are no longer going to be exposed to these dangerous chemicals that they're breathing in every day. So thank you for trusting A to Z Bus Sales, Bluebird, and Microbird.
Okay. Commissioner Monahan?
Yeah, I want to thank Diana and the other staff who have been working tirelessly on this program. I'm guessing Vice Chair Scott might have some comments as well, which she has a longer history by far than me in this. And I just want to emphasize one point in the presentation that was very fast, which is that we are requiring that these batteries provide V2G. And this vehicle-to-grid capacity is really unusual. Like in the light-duty vehicle space, hardly anybody offers it. Nissan Leaf is one of the few companies that offer it. But as we are struggling in California with renewables integration, and as schools are struggling with just having enough money for books and paper, there's an opportunity here potentially for school districts to recoup some of that money in the summertime by using that battery as a grid resource. And this is somewhat like, cutting edge theoretical, right? We haven't actually figured out how to fully quantify that value to the grid, but we know it's big, potentially. So I just think it was really great that staff was like that proactive in thinking through, like not just an electric bus, but an electric, like next generation bus that could actually help school districts in the future save money. So the maintenance cost savings are huge, and now we have this benefit potentially for EV charging done right and school districts to really be demonstrating that. So it's just like an amazing project all the way around, and something that I think we should all feel good about.
And at high noon, when you have all that peak solar production, they're typically plugged in, right? Because you're not driving.
Yeah, or
parked-
summertime,
yeah,
in the
yeah,
summer,
in the
you
summer.
may, your school's out, they still do rent out those buses, but it's a potential resource.
Did you want to share a few
Well,
thoughts?
I do. I'm really excited about this one as well. As you all know, I do also want to send my sincerest compliments to our school bus team for the laudable job that they've done. You guys just really knocked it out of the park. This was hard work. It was a big lift. We had aggressive goals. I wanted everyone to go fast. I'm ready to see the school buses by the Christmas time, at least the first round, and I think we'll have a few. And again, it's important to get kids out of the dirty diesel buses into the cleaner buses as quickly as we can. So, I just want to point out a couple of other things that our awesome team did, and that they built on the robust relationship that we had with all of the state's local educational agencies through Prop 39. So we already had a great network and outreach there, which we just jumped right in and used to let the schools know about our school bus program. Diana went by this really quickly. We literally categorized every school bus in the state because we needed to figure out which ones were the dirtiest, because that was one of the criteria for how to prioritize which buses to pull off. And now we've got this list. It took some time to put that together, but we can literally just keep funding down it if there were more funding in that space. We put together a really flexible program as well. So you guys probably remember just a little bit ago, we did do some natural gas buses, and that's because there were some rural areas of the state that implored us to keep both options on the table to make sure that, and again, getting the kids out of the really old, dirty diesel school buses is important in that space. We put together that bulk buy, and that was also a challenge and interesting and fun, but we did that because with the bulk prices, we hope that people, that drives the pricing down so that we can get more buses with the dollars that we have. But we put some flexibility in, so school districts can either use our pricing, or they can go out and get their own pricing if they so choose. The infrastructure, I think, is really important. It can't be understated. You got to have the charging to go along with the bus, otherwise it'll be difficult to use them. So I appreciate that we put that in place. We're trying to work closely with the PUC and the investor-owned utilities, because they have an obligation to put charging in place as well, so that the school districts where buses are coming can hopefully be prioritized within those utility plans. And then I think what we want to do, like the goal, the vision, is to make this as easy as possible for the schools, right? As Commissioner Monahan mentioned, they got a whole bunch of other things that they need to do, including educating our next generation. And so we don't want this to be troublesome or burdensome. We really want to make this as easy as possible for the schools so that they can just jump right in, drive the bus, plug it in, and we've got that workforce training component in there to assist with that. So I wanted to jump in on this too, because I really enjoyed working with the team on this. I think they did a fantastic job, and I'm excited to see it here at the business meeting.
Well, great. Well, congratulations, and thanks again for getting the ball rolling. That we do have one more public comment on this item. Nate Baquio, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Lion.
Thank you, Chairman Hochschild and commissioners. We're in full support of item number 8, and we're very excited to support the state of California and the California Energy Commission with this bulk purchase plan. It was great to work with your staff. We saw Tomas Ortiz, Diana Gonzalez, Sarah Williams, Michelle Vader out working with school districts so they fully understood the plan, and even were out driving the buses where they could do so legally. But thank you for the exhaustive and comprehensive review of not only the program and the districts, but also the manufacturers. Lion is proud to be the leader in electric school buses. I'm sure all of you have seen them around town here in Sacramento. As part of the largest deployment in the country, as part of the largest deployment of electric school buses in the country. So we're proud to have been a part of that as well. In the last 3 years and 2 million miles, Lion electric buses have been all over the roads, taking kids to school every day across North America, and most notably in California. We were founded in 2008 with the intention of revolutionizing the school bus industry. We quickly realized that diesel and fossil fuel was not the path forward, was not the future for this platform. And we are an EV company. We are dedicated to zero emission, and that's our sole focus in helping you achieve your goals in the state. Thank you for the notice of proposed award. We're very proud to have participated and scored the highest in the technical review. We worked very hard to be recognized in that way. And again, thank you, and we fully support this item.
I did have one last question, which is just, is there a decal on the bus that says electric that's visible? I didn't look on this morning when I was out
We
there.
are working with, as are some school districts that have already adopted electric, to make the blue bumper standard to identify electric. Every decal you see on a yellow school bus is regulated by the California Highway Patrol in size and color. So once that law recognizes how you will designate what an electric bus looks like, but the blue bumper is what's really kind of leading the charge in identifying.
You know, I would just on that, did you have a comment on that, sir? Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the Bluebird buses, I know Lion's got theirs and we have ours. On ours, we actually have a cord that comes out of the Bluebird logo. So that signifies electric, but as Nate said, the CHP regulates those the branding very, very intensely. So just wanted to note that.
Well, you know, I just in the light of the discussion we're trying to have here around raising public awareness about clean transportation, I mean, I would love to see if there's most people don't know what a blue bumper signifies. I mean, is there
It was the very first slide that Diana showed.
Okay.
She and the media team and Commissioner Monahan worked closely together to design it. It's really cute. So maybe when you go back to do number 9, you could show us the logo again.
That's on. Is that on the? That's on the side or on the?
Yes, on the intro slide, and also on the school buses out front, we also printed out a logo too as well to display it on the buses so you can see it there as well.
Great. Yeah, I just think it's really important. We need to keep. We're putting a ton of money into these things, and for the public to see driving around and know it's electric is really important. So thank you all for your work. Congratulations. Is there a motion to approve item 8 here?
I move to approve item 8.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 8 passes unanimously. Well, you know, in our country, sometimes it feels like you got to go back to go forwards. We have to do that in our agenda today as well. Because with item 7, actually we approved the guidelines, but it's actually broader than that. There's a sequence of them. So what we need is a motion to approve item 7 in its entirety.
My fault.
That's okay. No, it's my fault as well. So is there a motion to approve item 7 in its entirety?
I move to approve item 7 in its entirety.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you. Let's move on to item 9, school bus replacement for California Public School Districts.
And would it be possible, Diana, to start with the logo? Can we show that again, just so that?
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Oh, that's great.
Electric bus
Wonderful,
preview.
wonderful, wonderful.
So
Pretty easy.
CHP allows a 12x12 logo on the passenger side window. So when the students are walking up to the bus, to the left of it, we're allowed a 12x12 area where we are going to feature this logo on all the funded EV school buses.
And they did try hard to get something bigger, and to the point that you raised, it's going to take high-level intervention for that to happen, let's just say. I think the governor has to be involved in this decision, so yeah.
Staff is also seeking approval for item 9, 60 proposed resolutions approving school bus replacement program agreements listed in the agenda table to replace 211 old diesel-powered school buses with all-electric school buses. Staff is also recommending approval of staff's determination that all 60 agreements noted are exempt from CEQA. Any other proposed agreements not listed in the table will be taken to a later business meeting for approval. Thank you.
Okay, are there any, actually, we do have some public comment. Let's hear from Doug Schald, Ukiah School District.
Hello, Well, good morning, Chairperson and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and want to start off by thanking everyone at the California Energy Commission for all the important work you're doing every day, and obviously your global leadership on climate issues. It's great to work with the staff throughout our experience receiving these buses. Always excited to eliminate that fuel cost and save all the money on the required maintenance, which is much less, which all this goes along with the priority of our school district to be great stewards of the environment and create a healthy environment for our students. But, there's a lot of other great benefits we realize that I did not think of. It's very quiet and very smooth, so the students of ours that have been on the buses are actually able to read and study. They've mentioned it's a lot easier to focus on the bus and to relax after a hard day at school. And overall, our staff also loves them. They're very proud to be on the cutting edge of this new technology, and it actually generates a lot of questions and a lot of attention from our community members. So, the engagement is there, and I want to also, add in that as big of a logo as we can put on the buses, the better, because just the fact they're not making much noise has our community members wanting to talk about them. So, in general, they're great for our budget. They're great for our community engagement, and most importantly, they're great for the environment and our students' health. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Marty Turok from Cleantech San Diego.
Morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Marty Turok with Cleantech San Diego, and I have been leading the San Diego Region K-12 Schools Collaborative for SDG&E since its inception 6 years ago. Our primary mission over the last 5 years was to share best practices regarding the California Proposition 39 program that the CEC administered statewide. And the 44 school districts across the SDG&E service territory that participate in our collaborative were able to secure CEC approval for energy efficiency and clean energy projects at 528 school sites. That's going to save $11 million per year for the district while lowering greenhouse gas emissions by an estimated 11,455 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. But now with the funding for new Proposition 39 projects expired and the balance of funds transitioned to SB 110, we have transitioned the primary focus of our K-12 schools collaborative to Z&E buildings, both new construction and retrofits, as well as transportation electrification. At present, none of our school districts have any EV buses in service, and the funding from GSBFO 17607 is going to make this possible for Chula Vista Elementary School District, La Mesa Spring Valley School District, Escondido Union High School District, and Cajon Valley Union School District. So as these 4 school districts install EV charging infrastructure and put these first EV school buses into service, we will be sharing all the best practices and lessons learned so that the remaining 40 school districts in our region can also start addressing this key source of GHG reduction that will also reduce overall transportation operating costs while obviously improving the health and safety of our students commuting to and from school. So we commend the CEC on this truly transformative program and can assure you that it will achieve the intended objective here across the San Diego region.
Great, thanks so much. Any other public comment in the room or on the phone? If not, is there a motion to approve item 9?
I move to approve item 9.
Second?
This seems like a big table that needs a little comment. I don't know.
Okay. All right. All
right. We talk often, and I think it's totally justified, about the fact that the Energy Commission over the last decade or so has really cut our chops on program design, and we had a previous item, and it just bears, I think, repeating that we have capability here that is really unrivaled across state agencies, I would say. And building on the Prop 39, I want to congratulate Marty for sure about all the coordination down in the San Diego region. Building on Prop 39, hopefully Prop 39 has a second life at some point. We could pump some more funds into the building side of it. But this bus initiative is just fantastic, and a good use of that infrastructure, and a good follow-on effort for the Prop 39 original effort. And so I just wanted to I mean, if you read down the list and see all the school districts that participated, it's just a phenomenal statewide program and a huge example of good.
So is that a second?
That's a second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 10, ChargePoint.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Larry Rilera with the Fuels and Transportation Division, here to present item number 10. This agreement is funded through the Clean Transportation Program. Double barrel.
We really want to hear what you have to say. So
In December of 2018, the Energy Commission released a nearly $10 million solicitation for the manufacture of zero-emission vehicles and zero-emission vehicle infrastructure. The intent of the solicitation was to develop and expand ZEV supply chains in California. ChargePoint is proposed for $2 million in funding. The agreement with ChargePoint proposes to acquire and install manufacturing equipment and tools. This equipment will be used to manufacture direct current or DC fast chargers in the city of Campbell. The project will leverage over $2.7 million in private investment that will create jobs while increasing the scale of DC fast charger production. Staff is also recommending approval of staff's determination that this project is exempt from CEQA. Staff would note that a representative from ChargePoint is here to present and provide remarks and answer any questions you might have. Thank you for your consideration.
thank you. Let's go to public comment. Diedrich Roper, Director of Public-Private Partnerships at ChargePoint. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. On behalf of ChargePoint and our 14 California-based suppliers, I just want to thank you for this program and also for the consideration of this project. We are incredibly grateful and in a great position to have our fast chargers manufactured across the street from where they are designed in the Bay Area. Great talent pool, but it is incredibly expensive to hire that staff and secure those facilities. So this potential award would go a great distance to help us continue to maintain those operations in Campbell. Just the indication that we might be receiving this has motivated some new investments. Just to highlight a few of those, increased staff. About 15 more manufacturing workers over the last several months. And we also secured a Underwriter Laboratories testing facility in San Jose, took over that lease and also acquired testing equipment. So we're able to do saltwater tests, water tests, UV and heat tests. This investment will continue to support those efforts. We reported a $2.7 million cost share. But due to administrative sort of tasks associated with reporting a cost share, we're actually going to be spending about $10 million on this in additional funding outside of this to help scale up production. Also, when we wrote our proposal, we had just received our UL certification on this fast charging product. Pleased to say we've been deploying those units across North America in light, medium, and heavy duty applications, and also for deployments to Europe. And as we indicated in our proposal, we anticipate adding about 100 jobs as a result of this directly in ChargePoint, and it'll also support some of those suppliers' jobs, many of which are in the Central Valley and in the South Coast Air Basin. So, the money is, we're going to leverage it to the best of our ability. We're very proud to, proud of our work with the Energy Commission and look forward to continuing good works in years to come.
Well, thank you. Actually, if you could stay for a second. Yep. So I have a ChargePoint charger at home, and we have one here at work as well. I'm just curious, when you look ahead at the cost reduction roadmap for chargers, what do you see? I mean, how close are you to just cost of materials now, or how much more do you anticipate the cost being able to come down of chargers as you scale up?
Yeah, sure. Fair enough. So, this is our first designed DC fast charging product that we've designed in-house and developed in-house. So the product is a bit more expensive for us to produce today. But with support from the Energy Commission and other working with suppliers to drive down those costs and increase scale, also bringing in some of those materials across product lines, so we're able to sort of repurpose materials from our AC products and help develop larger orders and get those costs down. So it's just the beginning. We've just started delivering the product Q1 of this year, and have a lot of pre-orders both in North America and Europe that we hope to drive those costs down over time.
Okay. And finally, I'm on the board of CAFTA. We obviously have the tax credits. Are you taking advantage of those?
Yes, yeah, we've been taking advantage of CAFTA about the last 2 years.
Great.
Appreciate that program.
All right. Well, we wish you well. Commissioner Monahan?
Yeah, I just want to say, emphasize why this matters, DC fast charging. For a lot of folks that are live in multifamily dwellings, or if you're a driver for Lyft and Uber and you need to charge your vehicle, DC fast charging is really your only option.
Yeah.
And we're wrestling with this problem of what to do with apartment buildings, but it's going to take a while to solve it. And the more public stations we have that offer this fast charging capability, the better equipped we'll be to make sure that all Californians benefit from transportation electrification. So I just want to emphasize that this investment is great for ChargePoint, creating jobs here in California around a new energy economy, and the product is something that we're really going to need.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, it's having this fast charge has really opened up new markets. So working with transit agencies, we're now charging electric buses across North America. You have Corridor, so instilling confidence in drivers that they can make their way throughout the state. And we have another partnership with the Energy Commission to build out 70 fast charging locations throughout the state. We're working with ports now, so installed these fast chargers at the Port of Stockton recently to support some larger utility vehicles that they have. So, goods movement, people movement, and as you said, unlocking the multifamily market are all going to benefit from DC fast chargers.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you have orders for it, globally and across the U.S., although we want those chargers here in California.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I might just add, I'm excited about this one as well. This program that we have on clean transportation puts a little bit of dollars into manufacturing. It's a small amount, but I have to say I believe it's small but mighty, and it really helps us to tip the scales. You mentioned additional leverage of private capital that's going to come into this space because of an Energy Commission grant. We have had that happen in other instances as well. Proterra is the first one leaping to mind, but there are others. And it's great. I know our team also did quite a bit of work to assess what we needed in the infrastructure manufacturing space to really try to understand, were there things that were kind of have to be made in California where you kind of want it right here. You could, I forget what you call it, when you need it right away, right? You don't want it to be made someplace else and you have to wait for it to get shipped. Those kind of things. We did quite a few workshops to really understand where we could put our investment dollars in this space to really make them most impactful. So I want to thank the staff for the good work that they did there as well.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion?
I move to approve item 10.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Scott. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 11, regions of, did I do that right?
No, I think it was fine. I'm trying to catch your eye just to make sure the conversation shifted from the public comment to the commissioners so quickly. I just wanted to ensure for this item that we were clear that there was no other public comment.
I only had one card, yeah. Is there anyone else wishing to comment on item 10? Okay, yeah, thanks. Let's move on to item 11, regions of University of California on behalf of the Davis campus.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. My name is Sean Ransom, and I work in the Fuels and Transportation Division. I'm here today to present a proposed resolution to approve a $400,000 contract with UC Davis to conduct data collection and travel studies on plug-in electric vehicles used for ride-hailing and car sharing. Typically, Typically, these vehicles are deployed on behalf of transportation network companies, such as Uber or Lyft. The proliferation of transportation network companies has raised questions how large service fleets will impact public electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Transportation network companies that use electric vehicles require a greater number of charging events for longer intervals. Additionally, growth trends in transportation network company fleets and consumer preferences validate the durability of the new transportation sector and potential disruptions to public charging stations. Recently, the Energy Commission received concerns about overcrowding and loitering at charger sites due to transportation network company use. This contract is vital in understanding how transportation network companies are charging, where they are charging, EV adoption trends in fleets, and how the Energy Commission can develop funding opportunities to mitigate charger congestion and innovative charging solutions that benefit both transportation network companies and the public. The contract will analyze the trends and impacts transportation network companies pose on travel demand and electric infrastructure utilization. These include charging demand, travel behavior, and the mix of personal and ride-hailing use. The findings of the study will be incorporated into the Energy Commission's AB 2127 infrastructure assessments and the 2030 infrastructure requirement projections. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Is there public comment on this item? None? Okay, hearing none, Commissioner Monahan.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is an awesome study. I'm super excited about it because the future of transportation is shifting rapidly. What Dan Sperling from the Institute for Transportation Studies likes to call the 3 revolutions of autonomy, electrification, and mobility as a service is just changing transportation as we know it. And we need modeling work to be able to evaluate what that's going to mean for a lot of things. I mean, energy use, charger placement. How do we make sure that we are moving to a low carbon transportation future as we embrace these revolutions? And so this study is just, I think, the start of this. We have to think about how this gets integrated into the IPER eventually, and just this making sure that as we are doing our energy modeling, we're thinking about next gen technologies that are actually here today. So I think it's going to be a great study.
Any other comments?
I mean, we talked about SB 100 a little bit earlier, but you know, this kind of information is really key to being able to say, okay, here's what this wedge of a vehicle grid looks like, you know, and sort of when are they charging, when are they not charging, when are they plugged in, but not. I mean, yeah. So I think all this goes into the bucket of knowledge we need to plan. So I'll second this item. Oh, sorry.
Actually, would you like to make the motion?
Did you not move? Okay.
We need a motion for item 11.
All right, I'll move item 11.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 12, petition to request a rulemaking hearing. Go ahead, Jared.
This is actually Mr. Euler's petition, so we should see if he's here on the phone.
Here or on the phone? Okay. Okay, thank you. For agenda item 12, petition to request a rulemaking hearing, the commission will now consider an act to approve or deny the petition submitted by Steve Euler, requesting that the commission initiate a rulemaking hearing to amend Title 20 of the California Code of Regulations to provide regulatory language allowing a person wishing to file a document with the Energy Commission to open a docket to receive the filing or otherwise amend Section 1208 of the regulations to ensure that the public can file documents in a proceeding with the Energy Commission. Is Mr. Euler present or in the room or on the phone? Okay, it appears that the petitioner is not here by phone or in person. I'll then ask Public Advisor whether Mr. Euler asked to relate his points to the commissioners in his absence.
I have not received any requests.
Okay, thank you. Because Mr. Euler's petition and related documents were submitted to the docket and made available to commissioners in advance of today's meeting, I propose that we deem his arguments as submitted on the papers, but not read them aloud. Now we'll hear from staff and, so he has not submitted any written?
He submitted the original
The original, but
petition.
not, okay. So now we'll hear from staff in response to Mr. Euler's written submissions. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. This is Jared Babula, staff attorney, and I will address his petition. So after carefully reviewing the issues raised by Mr. Euler in his petition, seeking a rulemaking to amend the commission's filing procedures, staff recommends denial of the petition. As discussed in staff's memo to the commission, which details the rationale for staff's recommendation, there is no need to amend section 1208 or any other provisions relating to the commission's filing procedures. Energy Commission staff is committed to transparency and carefully manages both the creation of a docket and the organization of documents in that docket to ensure the public can easily find or file documents. It is not necessary to burden the public with the need to create a docket, especially when a docket is not a prerequisite for the public to engage with the commission. The current filing process set forth in the commission's regulations generally provides for two simple and easy to use pathways. Documents are either filed to an existing docket, which is most common, or a document is submitted in a manner specifically prescribed by the relevant provisions in the commission's regulations. For example, as in this case, Mr. Euler's petition was filed with the executive director. Finally, if a member of the public needs assistance in submitting documents, program staff, the docket unit, or the public advisor are all available to assist the public in the application process. So staff recommends the commission deny the petition and adopt staff's proposed order.
Okay, Commissioner discussion?
Well, you know, I'll just say, I don't think, I think we have, as Mr. Babula said, multiple ways for the public to submit needed documents to the Energy Commission, and multiple people who are able to assist them in doing so. And so I agree with staff's recommendation. I'm prepared to make a motion to that effect if there are no other questions.
I wanted to, I'm going to put Jennifer on the spot briefly, but I guess just, I mean, it seems like we have a lot of tools already, and Jared just laid it out, but I mean, you've been helping Mr. Euler quite a bit over the, last few months or so. I guess, do you feel like you have all the tools that you need to be able to help him and direct him to the right places?
I do. At this time, I don't feel like there was, I think the processes have worked to ensure that you were able to receive this petition. There are other ways, depending on the particular type of proceeding that Mr. Euler or any member of the public would like to participate in. To date, I have not had an experience where I felt that there was not a way for the public to participate. And in any event, where there was a situation where I felt that the public did not have a way to participate appropriately and fully at the Energy Commission, I would make a recommendation.
Great.
But I have no recommendation for this particular matter. I think that everything has been working just fine.
Great. Thank you very much. And I guess, opening a new rulemaking is a serious commitment of resources and just administratively. And so if it's not strictly necessary, it just seems like not the right course. So I support Commissioner Douglas.
I'd also like to add, just in case for those who haven't been here, we actually did 2 large rulemakings to modernize and update our process and procedure regulations, which culminated in the new regs being effective January 2016, with then a follow-up of January 2019. So we did go through a large update to modernize and to comport our regs with the new e-filing system and the updated manners in which documents can come in electronically.
Great, thank you. So did you have a motion, Commissioner Douglas?
Yes, I move to deny the petition and approve the order drafted by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 13, minutes.
Before you make a
I'm
motion, and because I don't want to interrupt after the fact, there are only 3 of you here, I
Yeah, I'm gonna
believe, for the
abstain.
last meeting, so 2 of you would not be voting on
Yeah,
this.
I'm abstaining, and I don't know who else was abstaining.
Yes, there.
Oh, you weren't here.
I was not also here, but so.
I will move approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That passes unanimously with Commissioner McAllister and I abstaining. So I guess not unanimous, but 3 yeses, 2 abstentions. Okay, let's go to lead commissioner reports, starting with Commissioner Monahan. We'd usually just go left to right, so.
Well, just to, we talked about this a little bit at the last one, but you guys were not here. So we, as part of the, what is now called the Clean Transportation Program, what was formerly the ARFVTP, which is arguably the worst acronym ever, not like REAP at all. And we, as part of the process of developing the investment plan for that program, we met with the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group. They gave us some good feedback. We're in the process, staff is in the process of redoing the investment plan to respond to that. We're gonna have a advisory committee meeting in the beginning of August to go over that and to get feedback on that plan. The Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group is actually, at least one representative will be there. And we're excited to get, to engage with the advisory committee to get their feedback. We're also very excited to engage with the disadvantaged, the DACAG, and have their input incorporated into the plan. And we're thinking about how to refresh the advisory committee to get more voices, and especially with an equity frame in helping advise us. Again, this is like a process. We never arrive at perfection. We're always just trying to think through how do we be more attentive to equity? How do we make sure our investments are taking in great advisors to help us tee up investments that are going to be best for all Californians. So more to come.
And by the way, did you want to share anything from Asilomar or any other?
I went to a transportation conference called Asilomar. It was great. It operates under Chatham House rules, so I can't actually say very much. but it brings together transportation experts from across the country. It's been going on for over 20 years. I think I went to the second one when I was working at Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory under this transportation guru, Lee Shipper. And it really is a great place for businesses, thought leaders, academics, NGOs to come and really map out what are the policies and programs we need to get us to a clean transportation future. So really great conference, and it was beautiful. It's a good place for a conference.
It is. Yeah, every 2 years the Energy Efficiency in Buildings Conference is there, the summer study they call it. And then KBEC, actually, the Building Energy Consultants, had their conference there recently. So it's like the go-to place for, energy-related blissful conferences. And you always have to take a fleece because it's warm everywhere else in California and cold there. So yeah. Anyway, that's a beautiful place. So I just have a short list of things. I'll be try to be quick about it. I wanted to just say first, congratulations on the EPRI conference that the chair's office sponsored, and that I think many of us participated in, and staff had a huge presence there. EPRI showing a lot of leadership in the electrification realm. After that conference. Well, first we had a meeting with the cities that was great, and then the panels were just really high level and lots of just great sharing. I feel like the education level of our stakeholders is really going up quickly in this realm, and sort of the grid issues and electrification and just kind of this pot of issues is causing a lot of really creative thought and innovation. We had 18 staff after that conference go up to Berkeley Lab to visit the Flex Lab, and Lori Tenhope sort of put that together, and the LBL people are doing really innovative stuff. and just made sense to, since it was right there in Berkeley, to have staff go up. And I think a lot of newish staff went, and it was really helpful for them, and I was really glad to hear that. Let's see, recently there was an advanced Windows forum that SMUD hosted, and just a whole bunch of our important stakeholders were there. Again, Berkeley Lab is world leader on developing innovative Windows, and there's this effort to put together a skinny triple, it's called. So it's a triple pane window that basically fits in the profile of a double pane window. And now that we have really thin glass from all the flat screen TVs that are out there, we have cheap thin glass that's being manufactured in a way that we just never did before. Now we can have actually a true triple pane window that weighs the same as a double pane and is much more energy efficient. So this effort is it's really a cool effort from the technical perspective, but we're hoping to get a product out there that can be incorporated into the building code and really help us reach our goals that way. Let's see. I want to give everybody the heads up that on September 16 to 18 is the NASEO, the National Association of State and Energy Officials, annual meeting. It's happening in Manhattan Beach. We just finished up the call for proposal topic, or the call for proposals for panel topics, basically for session topics. So as that all pans out and the agenda gets developed, I'm certain that there will be opportunities for all of you to be involved if you want to be involved. And since it's down in LA area, we're looking at sort of getting some leveraging Hollywood nearby and sort of getting some excitement around clean energy. Anyway, more to come on that, but I wanted to just get it on y'all's radar screen that that's the third week of September. Went a couple weeks ago, did a keynote at the North American Passive House Conference, and Passive House is a really interesting, private certification that is just hyper efficient building shell and great mechanical, and it really lends itself to electrification. And it was in New York City, and it happened right as New York was passing that awesome law that essentially tries to one-up us, right? It's 70% by 2030, and it's 100% by 2040. They're just 5 years ahead or whatever. And this one-upping across the states is a really positive dynamic. And Alicia Barton, who heads NYSERDA, is really excited, obviously, but also we between New York and Massachusetts and California and other states, but certainly those three, we really need to collaborate all we can possibly to figure out how together move the market and get best practices and look at rate design and grid interactive buildings and all the things that we need to decarbonize our electricity grid. So very exciting, and they're also focusing on equity. So I think that was a big, is aggressive goals, but also highest level emphasis on equity. So I think that was it is really positive. And obviously, the rubber's got to hit the road, and implementation has to work. So we want to help them do that. Let's see. Wanted to, I guess, just from my personal perspective, and while we've got the dais here and the meeting, congratulate Secretary Maribel Batcher for being appointed the new president of the PUC, sort of taking the baton from Michael Picker. I just have tremendous respect for both of them, and certainly Secretary Batcher has been a leading light on utilizing modern analytical tools for improving government and innovating, and sort of I think all of us are really right on the same page with her on that, and I think it's going to be a sort of a nice sort of fresh approach possibly at the PUC to sort of we're collaborating a lot with them on data already, but I think it'll only be for the good as she takes leadership. Obviously lots of big challenges over there, but we wish her all the best, and we'll absolutely be here for to help out wherever possible. And I'll just thank you to Michael Picker for all of his amazing public service. I mean, over a whole career, really just really spectacular. So he deserves a nice retirement. What's that? Who knows if he'll actually retire, right? But anyway, you never know. But anyway. Let's see, just a couple other things. I wanted to say thank you to Natalie Quetham and Reem Rayev, who was right there. Maybe you guys could stand up. Natalie was not down here this morning, so I just wanted to acknowledge her. But both of you have really done a tremendous job in my office. the internship program is a fantastic thing, and you know, you will go and you know, sing our praises to your colleagues at Berkeley, and we'll get you know, more stellar interns as we go forward. So you know, your work is really important to help the commission thrive. So thank you. And finally, I want to say thank you to Kristen Driscoll, who's right there in the back. Thanks for coming down and sharing your time with us. Kristen has accepted a job over in pesticide control, and she steps down as deputy of the efficiency division. And I just obviously I'm incredibly sad to see Kristen go. She has had a really stellar trajectory at the commission in legal. I think you started in legal, right? And then went over to the appliances office, led that office, and had a stint as Chair Weissenmiller's advisor, and was just such a fantastic choice to run the efficiency division. And really just in all aspects, just kind of up the level of management, and just in so many ways, on the management side, on the technical side. Really, it's a complex division with a lot going on, and a very difficult lead commissioner. I just wanted to say thank you for all your stellar service. I want to invite you to say any comments. I know, you know, this is, you know, competence doesn't trumpet its own horn often, and blow its own horn, trumpet its own success. I'm not sure, but anyway, you're just such an example of competence at the commission and for state service. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for your service. We're sad to see you go at the end of the month. Or I guess it's sometime in the next month, but it's a transition that we're in the middle of, and hopefully we get a candidate that can really step into your shoes and keep the ball moving.
Yeah, I wish everyone the best of luck. I'm just going to let you know I'm here for the next business meeting.
Oh,
so maybe then I'll have something to say that's not.
Well, thanks for giving us so much lead time. I was like, oh no. Yeah. So, but anyway, thanks so much, Kristen. All right. The announcement came over, and it just made a big splash here. So I wanted to just make sure to acknowledge you today. Great.
So let's see. I think like everyone at the beginning of the month, I enjoyed a few days off around the 4th of July, which was great. Just a little staycation right here in Sacramento. So it was good to just have a couple days off and get a few things done. You know how that happens. I've had a chance to tour a sodium sulfur battery system in Vacaville, which was really neat to see. This is something that actually was funded long enough ago that it was Pure Electricity that funded it. And so it's great, though, to kind of see the progression of the different types of technologies that have just the thought and care that goes into finding what do we need to put in which different places. And it was great to see that technology, which has not had the same level of coming down the cost curve as lithium ion, of course, because lithium ion is not just used for storage, but is also used in cars, right? So there's been a lot more, I think, research and dollars put towards that. I had a chance to go to Lacey hosted us down in Los Angeles a few weeks ago for the EPIC ARPA-E gathering. So this is, again, thanks to former Chair Weissenmiller had put a program together where our research programs talk to one another, leverage one another, make sure that we are doing the best with the funding that we have in the research space. So it was great to get to meet all of the folks who are part of ARPA-E. I think they appreciated an opportunity to come out to California and see what California is doing. And one of the things that we try to do, because ARPA-E a lot of times is focused more in the basic research space, and the Energy Commission is a little bit farther down the technology readiness level or manufacturing readiness levels, is try to complement each other's programs. So if there's something that has already gone through ARPA-E and it's got the blessing of the ARPA-E team, it might have a slightly higher scoring, for example, in EPIC, right? Because we want to keep moving some, and then vice versa. They'll do the same for us with different types of projects. So it was really nice to have a chance to meet everybody, meet them in person, and keep thinking through how we want to work together. I was out at the National Renewable Energy Lab a little while ago, and this conversation was really about distributed energy resources. It was very very wonky. I mean, we were really more talking about like what are distributed energy resources and why do different people define them in different ways, more so than kind of where are they, how are they working, where would we like to see more. But it was really great to have those conversations and also to get to see the work and capacity at the National Renewable Energy Lab up close. They took us through some of the labs and showed us some of the projects that they're working on. I am continuing to work on the Integrated Energy Policy Report, of course. We had a little bit of a break, but I think we're getting ready to pick up again with workshops galore, so stay tuned. And last, I just want to note that the Disadvantaged Communities Advisory Group is looking for a new member. We extended the deadline for the applications, and I'm not going to try to guess at the date, but you can look at our webpage to see. And so if you are interested or you know someone who's interested, please be sure to get the word out. We're looking for folks who are engaged and enthusiastic and really want to help the Energy Commission and the Public Utilities Commission as we're thinking through how to continuously improve and do better on equity and bringing in low-income communities and disadvantaged communities to the work that we do. So that is my update. I also want to acknowledge my awesome interns who are still here. It's so much fun to have extra folks around during the summer to help get all the projects that used to be on the back burner but now are on the front burner, and the interns are getting them done. So thank you guys. It's been great to have you in the office.
All right, great. Well, I have a couple things to report. I should mention what I muttered under my breath when Andrew was talking about Michael Picker and his hope that Michael manages to have a nice retirement is that actually he did have his retirement pretty well set up before Governor Brown tapped him to walk away from all that and take the stint at the PUC. And so I hope it works out for him this time and he's able to take a well-earned retirement, or at least some well-earned time off. And I really look forward to working with a new chair of the PUC as well. So a couple things to report on. First of all, on July 9th and 10th and 11th, the Energy Commission, in coordination with the Bishop Paiute Tribe, co-sponsored a tribal conference, and it was called the Sustaining Tribal Resources Conference, and it was a wonderful event. The chair was there and his advisor, Lindsay, for the first day and a good part of the second day as well. We had some folks in the audience there who helped us on the tribal side put the agenda together and bring participants together who had been working with us for a decade or more. As I looked around that room, and there were some really there were some people who, as I said in some of my opening remarks, were part of some of the very first tribal overtures to the Energy Commission to begin working together more closely, and that helped spark a lot of what we have done with tribes. In addition to Energy Commission, on the state side, we had representatives from the Natural Resources Agency, Cal EPA, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, OEHA, State Lands Commission, Office of Planning and Research. Topics were related to sustainability and energy and climate change, but a lot of these things, really are very much related, and you can't have a conference about, one little slice of the pie, really. You can, but when you engage the tribes, there tends to be a more holistic way of looking at the situation. And so we talked about climate and energy and mitigation and certain species that are obviously very affected by climate change and very important culturally to tribes. And it was a really good, just really good event. And the hospitality of the Bishop Paiute Tribe and the amount of work and effort they put into making everyone feel welcome, including, the state attendees, the attendees of tribes from around the state. We had tribes from the Auburn area, from far northern California, Bear River, from Lake County area, from the Colorado River area. Geographically, there was a very good representation of tribes from many different parts of the state. And of course, the Paiute tribes from Owens Valley were all working together very closely to help make the conference a success. It built on the Tribal Energy Summit the Energy Commission held earlier, and there were a lot of events in between and a lot of events before, and I think it really positions us to take the next steps of working with tribes as partners as we deal with climate change and try to understand how to better use traditional tribal knowledge and put it together with some of our scientific approach and knowledge to deal with management issues, to better understand how to achieve different kinds of technological change, and that ranges from all sorts of things that we do, from working with tribes on, building energy efficiency to, we're seeing tribes. I don't know if I've mentioned this to Patty. I should have, but I'll do it now if I haven't before. I really see tribes as a major partner for helping us expand the electric vehicle charging network in rural areas, because the Bishop Paiute tribe has applied to somebody, and they're going to get back to me on who it was for help funding stations. The Bear River tribe, and those are two tribes that'll speak in our workshop coming up. The Bear River tribe on their own put in 6 EV chargers, and they're up in Humboldt County where we've got a lack of charging capacity. So working with tribes throughout the state on expansion of EV infrastructure brings the benefits to them. It makes it possible for them to bring on board more electric vehicles themselves. It also obviously helps attract people to tribal facilities and tribal lands, and it helps us expand our network. So there are tremendous benefits. We've seen tribes go into microgrids. We've seen tribes express interest in our ECA program. We've seen just a tremendous upwelling of interest from tribes. I think they can be major partners with us in a lot of what we're trying to do. I also think we have a lot to learn from them. And so it's been a great exchange, and I've really enjoyed doing that work, and I really want to extend my thanks to the Bishop Paiute tribe. The other thing I will say, and if I got the business meeting wrong, I'm going to cry, but I don't think I did, is I want, we could have done this in the legal, attorney report, chief counsel report, but I think I'll just do it here, is I want to thank Courtney Vaccaro for her tremendous service and hard work as the Energy Commission's chief counsel. She's not leaving us. She is going to become my advisor, and I am extremely excited for her to start as my advisor tomorrow. Not a month from tomorrow, tomorrow. And I just wanted to say that I've worked with Courtney since she has come on to the commission, and she's been here for almost 9 years. She's worked for us in a whole range of different capacities, and I think probably in part because I'm the attorney commissioner and I do a lot of citing, I've gotten to work with Courtney in all of these different capacities. When she started, she was a hearing officer, and we did some of the early desert solar cases together, and I'll never forget driving through the desert with Courtney, who has a different sense of time than I do and a different level of anxiety sometimes around, simple logistical matters that tend to work themselves out in my experience. So it was fun from the very beginning, working with Courtney, and I could tell a lot of stories, but I won't. But she also worked for us as the Assistant Executive Director of Compliance and Enforcement, and helped us get a more standardized set of approaches and structure around how we do compliance and enforcement work, beginning in the siting area with power plants, but and also of course, we have the appliance efficiency enforcement requirement and or program and others. And a lot of that really started with Courtney in this role with the support of executive office, kind of beginning to figure out how do we as the Energy Commission improve our work in this area. She worked as the assistant executive director for audits, investigations, and program review. That's, again, a lot of this more broad work. Staff counsel, of course, and for recent years, chief counsel. And Courtney has been an extraordinary chief counsel. So let's see here. So, over the last 4 years, Courtney's managed and coordinated the work of the chief counsel's office. She's worked hard to ensure that the legal advice coming out of the chief counsel's office harmonized our legal principles, laws, policy in a way that helped the commission achieve its goals and helped us understand the landscape ahead of us, the legal landscape, and helped us make informed decisions. And that's what we need and what we want from our chief counsel, in addition to proactively managing the office and developing and growing the skills of our team of attorneys in the legal office. So I just want to thank Courtney. I want to thank Alan Ward, who has agreed very graciously to step up and be acting chief counsel while we go through our search. I've got a tremendous amount of confidence in Alan's ability to lead our legal team and ensure that we continue to get a high quality legal advice from that office for now. In the interim, as we go through our process, we have posted the announcement for chief counsel, so if anybody is interested in applying, please do. If you know someone who might be, please point them our way, and we will move forward with that as posted. So anyway, that's, I think, all I have, but many, many thanks to Courtney. This is her last business meeting as chief counsel. Please.
Yeah, actually, why don't we do Courtney first, and then I'll do my, so go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just want to pile on and echo much of what Commissioner Douglas said. Courtney, I have just, you're smart, you're capable, you're knowledgeable, you are always on point. I trust you to know the law and to tell us what it is, but in a way that helps us make really good informed decisions. You always provide, I think, excellent advice, very high standards. I've appreciated your commitment and your dedication to the commission, to building a terrific office, everything that you have done. You're erudite, you're articulate, and it really has been a privilege to work with you in this role. I'm so delighted that I get to continue to work with you in your new role, because you are also really funny and a lot of fun. So you leave big shoes to fill, but I just wanted to take a minute to also thank you for the great work that you do at the commission each and every day.
I'll just say, working with you on as a hearing advisor, just to give an example, it just recalibrated my whole sense of what a hearing advisor could be, and not to take away from the others, but I just so on top of things, and just you saw everyone in the rooms, spines straighten, that they had to bring their A game into that room, and so for all parties, and just that rigor and that just consistency, I think just speaks volumes, and that's just one example of many I could give. In any case, I think probably just doing the geometry, I think you're probably even a little bit closer now than you have been. So I'll just be able to walk down the hall, and that'll be great. I'm really glad you're on the row, and hopefully Commissioner Douglas can share you as a resource when the need arises. Obviously within the limits of BK, et cetera, but. Goes without saying, but I'll say it. And anyway, yeah, exactly. Congratulations on just a really stellar tenure as chief counsel, and more great things to come. But thank you.
So Courtney, I barely got to know you, and I feel like you were making my spine go straighter. And now I'm worried I'm going to have curvature of the spine, and I'm going to make horrible mistakes, and there's going to be nobody there I'm sure Alan is going to do a great job and help me. But just thank you for getting me up to speed. Thank you for walking me through what I'm sure were such junior Mickey Mouse questions and always responding nicely and competently and with humor, which I much appreciate personally. So I wish you well. I am sad that we didn't get to work more in your current role, but looking forward to seeing all the great things you can do with Commissioner Douglas.
Well, thunderous agreement to all that. And yeah, Courtney, you're a true public servant. I really see that in your spirit so strongly, how much you care and how dedicated you are. And I think for any team to be successful, you want different skill sets. You need that. And I think what we're trying to do here at the Energy Commission is incredibly ambitious. I mean, really, we're trying to solve climate change. We're trying to, create these models that can spread. And, from my perspective, and I know Chair Weisermiller felt the same, having someone who is so informed and thoughtful and wise and detail-oriented on all of our process is essential, because you look at where we could get tripped up. I mean, a lot of it is on actually preventable process stuff, and I feel very well protected actually by your legal judgment in terms of how we proceed about what we're trying to do, and I just can't thank you enough. And I'm excited for you also. I really like to see people grow and thrive. I want you to thrive as a person and to actually enter a new role. We're actually going to be using some different skill sets, and I'm excited for you in this next chapter. So congrats on everything, and I look forward to the next chapter. And also to Kristen Driscoll, I guess we'll have a chance to go deeper with her next month. I wanted also to particularly to thank our interim public advisor, Jennifer Martin Gallardo, who is going to share with us in a minute what she's been working on this new ombudsman function that we started, just because we are about delivering service to our grantees. We are here to serve our grantees, and she has been diligently performing outreach to all of these folks, and is going to share a little bit more about that. But you're doing a great job, Jen, so thank you for all your work. I really appreciate it. I also just want to add a little more color on our new PUC president, Mary Bell Batcher, who I'm a big fan of. She is a problem solver. She's a bureaucracy fixer, and someone I think will be a terrific partner with us. She's not an energy wizard or expert, but if you look at what the challenges of the PUC are, I mean, a huge number of them are operational, and actually I think she'll be really particularly gifted in that. We will be working together, as I mentioned, on doing a joint on-bank this fall, and so I've been in touch with her this weekend, and it's a coup that the governor's office got her. This was not her choice, but sometimes the best person you got to go after, and they were able to persuade her, and it's great for the state. So a little bit about our electrification summit. I was thrilled with how that turned out. We had sold out 450 people. Really want to thank Commissioner McAllister for leading the session on cities. And just the dialogue, the level of engagement, the diversity of folks there from cities and state agencies and the innovation sector, incredible momentum across the board. And we just had some tremendous dialogue. There's 50 cities now that are in some stage of considering an all-electric reach code, and will be coming to us. Incredible momentum on many of the other sectors as well. So. And EPRI was a terrific partner, as was Silicon Valley Leadership Group and CAISO and UC. So that was really time well spent. And particularly glad, Drew, you were able to get so many Energy Commission staff there. I think it was terrific on both ways, that exchange. So I was thrilled. I also just wanted to say thanks again to Commissioner Douglas for this tribal summit. She is understating how powerful it was. It was an incredible gathering. And not easy to get to, 6 hours drive, but more important than ever that we go there. I really believe in that. I'm going to, personally make a commitment to do that on a regular basis, to get out to these tribal communities. I think it meant a lot to them that we came to them. And I will just say I sent a note to the entire Energy Commission staff yesterday with a couple items, including Governor Newsom's apology to the tribes, which is, an incredibly powerful apology and needed. A genocide was committed. He named it. He said it. It meant an incredible amount, I think, to the folks in the tribal communities to see that. It was still being talked about. I just feel really proud of our state now, how we're trying to repair that historical damage. The governor's tribal advisor, Christina Snyder, was with us as well in these discussions. She's doing terrific work. And, you know, we have over 150 state and federally recognized tribes in California, which is more tribes than exist in any other state, to my knowledge. And, you know, what we're doing here, some of the models that we're trying to create can be models for other states. I love telling this story, which I do now at almost every talk, what we did with the Blue Lake Rancheria tribe up in Humboldt and doing that solar microgrid so that if the grid were to go down, they could keep power on in their first aid clinic, and the grid did go down because of a fire, and the power stayed on, and those kind of projects are a real example. And I just feel incredibly proud of you, Commissioner Douglas, for leading this. You're putting your heart into that, and I can see it and feel it, and then I think all the folks in the tribal communities can as well. And I just want to say, you know, having worked with you now for 6.5 years, you're having a renaissance. I mean, it is amazing. You're doing offshore wind and this lithium task force and the tribal work and everything else on audits. And I just, it's just such a treat to see this up close. And, you know, that summit you put together was years in the making, you know, and I'm just really, really proud of you and glad to be able to participate. And I think that's it for me. So let's move on to Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Chair and members. 3 quick items. First, we hired a company to make our invoicing electronic. And I'm just really pleased that the process has started. We're really happy with who we've got. We're going to be using the Salesforce platform that's used widely, and hope to have by next summer a system in place so we can receive and process invoices electronically. Second, mandatory training. You may have seen last month some press reports about an investigation into mandatory training for sexual harassment. Some agencies didn't fare particularly well in terms of the managers and supervisors and the percentages that had received the training. Proud to say we're at 100%. Not 100% for all staff, and we require it for all staff, but we're pretty good, but 100% for what is required, which is managers and soups. And finally, third, Fiscal. We've all heard about Fiscal. It's this new accounting and budgeting system that the state adopted several years ago. It's up to $900+ billion in cost. The state auditor did an analysis that was published in January that found many agencies having significant trouble, and some agencies not able to book any of the months of the year at all. We started the process in 2017 and really struggled last year, but managed to get the books all done by the end of the year. This year, we've completed month 11, which is May, and we'll get the whole year completed very quickly. So we have done a really tremendous job, and I say we, and what I really should be saying is Rachel Rechtenwald, who I wanted to call up so you can put a name with a face. This is the head of our accounting department, and she's one of the people who, you know, you may not have met or have seen, but just doing an incredible job moving this process forward. It is just taken tenacity and just day-to-day work for her and her whole team. So I wanted to just acknowledge her, and I've talked to the chair about making this a part of my remarks. It's just an acknowledgement of somebody who goes sometimes unnoticed, but is really so critical to the work we do here. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Advisor's report.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I'd like to provide a short report about my work today as Grants Ombudsman. As you know, the Chair has requested that I reach out personally to all of our grant recipients with agreements entered into within the last 3 years. The purpose of my calls is to receive feedback from grant recipients on their experience with the Energy Commission's grant process. To date, I have spoken with approximately 2/3 of our Clean Transportation Program, formerly known as ARFBTP, awardees. Those I have spoken with are extremely grateful for the opportunities that the funding is providing to help them move California forward, and they are absolutely committed to achieving the program's goals. I can also say that the thoughtful feedback I have received from grant recipients has been extremely helpful. The conversations are uncovering consistent themes and are providing me with a clear understanding of the challenges that we must address to improve the efficiency with which we administer our grant programs. For example, it is clear that we must simplify our invoicing system. Also, we must find ways to establish reliable and swift timelines for internal processes such as getting grants from the NOPA stage to the business meeting and from the business meeting to signed agreement. As I finish my calls on our transportation programs, I will be reaching out to EPIC grant recipients. When those calls are finished, I will be providing a complete summary of the feedback with suggestions on various approaches to improvement. I look forward to sharing the feedback with you, Chair Hochschild, and collaboratively working with grantees and staff towards solutions to improve the effectiveness of the grant funding we provide. I am truly thankful for the candid and thoughtful feedback from our grantees. It has been a pleasure speaking to each of them. I can tell you that our grantees are extremely thankful for the opportunity to provide this feedback on their experiences and suggestions on how we can make our programs even better, because they are truly passionate about moving California forward with their projects. A number have asked me to thank you personally for the opportunity. I look very much forward to continuing these conversations and helping in any way that I can to improve our agency's processes.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Great job. And just so everyone's clear, the way we have set this up, these are not attributable comments. What we're really trying to get is honest feedback. And actually, I'm most interested in the stuff that's not working and where we can improve and what the sticking points are. And so, this is all done as a part of our larger effort to just get better with our process and to solicit proactively, because people don't want to bite the hand that feeds them naturally. So this is really set up to try and get to how we can improve. So we look forward to your complete report. Thanks and great work. Let's move on to public comment. Any public comment in the room or on the phone? Hearing none, let's move on to Chief Counsel's report.
So I have no substantive report today, but I would like to thank you for your very kind words. And I think for any legal counsel, it's imperative that you have the respect and the trust of your client. I feel like I've had that. I've had it before I was your chief counsel. I feel like I've had it for the 4.5 years that I've been your chief counsel. I think that's what allowed us to sort of make tough calls together. I think it's something that's allowed us to agree to disagree on significant areas and still have enduring relationships, both personal and professional. I'm just very grateful and honored that you selected me and appreciated me as your chief counsel. It's meant a great deal to me, and I feel very fortunate to have worked with such a strong legal team. We are often we're not even unsung heroes. I don't even think people see us that way. But, and it's often because what we do is background. It's confidential, it's internal. But you have before you, and you've had it for years and you're going to continue to have it, a group of individuals who are so dedicated to the work of this agency. I think sometimes they just aren't seen to be appreciated. But you have a tremendous legal office, and I feel honored to have served them as well. So this is just farewell, because I'm moving upstairs tomorrow. And I'm super excited.
You're going to be even closer to us. Well, let's give Courtney a round of applause. And with that, we're adjourned. But what I'd like to do is invite all the commissioners out front if we could take a photo with the electric school bus. Thank you.